Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritam Gamaya Avir Maiti Rudra Yakti Dakshinamukam Te Namam Pahi Nityam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Reach us through and through ourself, and evermore protect us from ignorance by thy sweet, compassionate face. Om peace, peace, peace. Good morning. The topic today is truth, or Satya. In Hinduism, truth is defined by saying it is unchangeable and eternal, that which is beyond the distinction of time, space, and causation. There are many references and properties and explanation of truth by the Hindu sages that explain the various facets of truth, because there are many. But anything that changes cannot be completely true. The human body, for example, is therefore not really true, as it changes with time. It's subject to death, and it belongs to a changing reality. Satya is the Sanskrit term for truth. The highest truth can mean God Himself, or it can also be seen as an ethical virtue, being true and consistent in reality with one's thought, speech, and action. In yoga, Satya is listed as one of the 5 yamas, which are considered to be basic for all spiritual sadhana. These are ahimsa, non-injury; satya, truthfulness; asteya, lack of greed; brahmacharya, self-control; and aparigraha, non-grasping or non-accumulating things. Satya is sometimes translated as the virtuous restraint from falsehood and distortion of reality in one's expression and actions. These 2 fundamental human tasks, telling the truth and knowing what the truth is, has a close relationship to one another. When you tell the truth, you practice the essentially spiritual skill of knowing it first. When you lie, either to yourself or to others, you blur the boundaries of the truth. Lying robs you of that internal ability for recognition of the truth that we all naturally have, and it diminishes your ability to recognize the truth when you see it. One person says Satyam means truth, not what you think about it, but what it is. Not your idea about it, but its reality. To know this truth, you have to be utterly absent. You have to be utterly absent. Your very presence will distort the vision, because your presence means the presence of your mind, your prejudices, and all your conditionings. You're nothing else but a bundle of all that has been forced upon you by your family, by religions, by society, by the so-called leaders of humanity. Your absence means absence of all prejudices, all borrowed knowledge, just as a pure sky, a pure being. This absence of you or the jiva is your real presence, the Atman. Only the prejudices are absent. The ego is absent. Your knowingness is absent, but your being shines through in its absolute purity. You disappear as a personality, and there remains only this pure presence. So it is an absence on one side of all that is false in you, and a presence on the other side of all that is real in you. In this state, you simply see. This seeing of existence is the first experience of the mystic seer contained in the word Satyam. Satyam means truth, not any conception about it, but truth itself. Satya is a central theme in the Vedas. It's equated with and considered necessary to the concept of ritam, the Sanskrit word that means properly joined, order, rule, nature, balance, harmony. Rita results from Satya in the Vedas as it regulates and enables the operation of the universe and everything in it. Satya, truth, is considered essential, and without it, the universe and reality falls apart. It cannot function. The word Sat in Sanskrit means that which exists, that which is. Satya in turn means truthfulness, seeing and reporting things as they really are, rather than the way we would like them to be. People often think that they alone know what the truth is, but everybody has their own idea about what that truth is, because it is shaded by their own ideas about themselves and how they view the reality around them. In Western thought, commonly, truth is viewed as the correspondence of language or thought to an independent or objective reality. Western philosophies have many different ways of viewing the truth. Thomas Aquinas once said, quote, "A judgment is said to be true when it conforms to the external reality," end of quote. Thus, for Aquinas, the truth of the human intellect, logical truth, is based on the truth in things, ontological truth. Veritas et adequatico intellectus et rai. The truth is the conformity of the intellect and things. Immanuel Kant counters this, however, by saying, truth, it is said, consists in the agreement of cognition with its object. In consequence of this mere nominal definition, my cognition, to count as true, is supposed to agree with the object. Now, I can compare the object with my cognition, however, only by cognizing it. Hence, my cognition is supposed to confirm itself, which is far short of being sufficient for truth. For since the object is outside of me, the cognition inside of me, all I can ever pass judgment on is whether my cognition of the object agrees with my cognition of the object. This points out the basic flaw in making truth something intellectual at all. There are many other theories about the nature of truth put forth by Western philosophers, beginning with the ancient Greek philosophers Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. According to Martin Heidegger, the original meaning and essence of truth in ancient Greece was, quote, the unconcealment or the revealing or bringing of what was previously hidden into the open. This is an interesting point, no doubt, and in a way, it's like bringing the Atman into its full manifestation. But in the talk today, I really want to narrow it down to our discussion of truth in the Hindu way, the term Satya. Immediately, the basic question arises, what is the view about reality in Hindu philosophy? In Hinduism, there are several different levels of reality that are recognized, and all are true to some extent. They're all called Satya, each with a modifying adjective. The highest reality, or Satyasya Satya, truth of truths, is considered to be the only unchangeable, permanent reality, Sat, or God itself. This is Pravrajika Satya, the highest reality. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad tells us, as a spider moves along the thread it produces, or as a fire produces little sparks and scatters them in all directions, just so from this self issue all organs, all worlds, all gods, and all living beings. Tasyo Upanishad tasyasya satyasmiti pranavai satyam tesham mesham satyam. Its secret name is Satyasya Satya, truth of truths. The vital force is truth, and it is the truth of that. Pratibhasika Satya is a reflection of the emitted light. This stage is like a dream, when the experienced object existence is non-different from the experiencing subject, but the subject is unaware of the oneness of the objects. This is the dream reality. Vyavaharika Satya is transactional reality. This is what most of us in the West consider to be real. To make our actions possible, the complete distinction between the objects and the subjects need to be drawn. And here the senses are active, and we take their input to be true, and accordingly, this is the reality of science, where things can be experienced and measured by the senses, and which is ruled by the laws of space, time, and causation. It's often hard for a scientist to make the leap from a reality which can be measured to one which cannot. Swami Ramakrishnananda once said, those scientists who are earnest seekers after truth are sure to realize soon, because they want truth. Those are far from truth who are bound only by their sense nature. Ramakrishna tells us that it is I and mine alone that cover the face of truth. These make the transactional reality seem very real, because this is where the ego hangs out, as it were. Swami Shivananda tells us, unfortunately, in this world of phenomena, there's nothing that remains unchanged for a second. Now, with the idea of finding the ultimate truth, if we push our analysis further, we shall see that back of the changeable phenomena is the immutable Brahman, which is unchangeable. First gross objects, then subtle, then more subtle. Whatever we analyze in the outer world, we fail to find any permanence in them. They're all changing. Baffled, we finally turn within ourselves. And this self-withdrawal or abstraction is the only way to the knowledge of Brahman, or the supreme reality. At the highest level, the seed consciousness, Sat, is the root of everything else. That is the highest reality, Paramartika Satya. Here, quote, mind turns back along with speech. To the wise man, neither heaven nor hell nor earth exists. He knows that there is but one truth, and that it is here and now. He sees the glory of his own supreme self and nothing else. This is a quote from the Upanishads. Satya, or truth, is widely discussed in various Upanishads, including the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where Satya is called the means to Brahman, as well as Brahman itself. Sat, being, or true self. In the Svetasvatara Upanishad, Brahman is called Satya, truth, Shivam, auspiciousness, and Sundara, the beautiful. Again, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahman is called Satya, Jnana, Ananta, Brahman. Swami Ramakrishna Nanda once said, "The Upanishads are the most wonderful books. They're a concise statement of all the great truths of the universe. Every line is the expression of a mind who has realized. Those who gave them out had realized God, and he who has realized God is the same as God himself. Those great seers were the embodiment of purity, so they were able to perceive the truth." The Rig Veda, one of Vedanta's most ancient texts, declared thousands of years ago, "Ekam sat vipra bahu da vedanti." Truth is one. Sages call it by various names. The Taittiriya Upanishad states, "Satyam vad dharmacha." Speak the truth. Conduct yourself according to the Dharma, morality, ethics, and law. Truth is sought and praised in the hymns and the Upanishads as that one reality which always prevails. The Mundaka Upanishad, for example, states, "Satyameva jayate nanritam." Truth alone triumphs and not falsehood. The slogan of India is Satyameva jayate. Truth alone triumphs. It comes from this verse, from the Upanishads. In chapter 4 of the Chandogya Upanishad, Satyakama, whose name actually means one who desires the truth, a boy, and later a Vedic sage, first appears. As a boy, he inquires about his father from his mother. And his mother, Jabala, who was a maid in various houses, tells him that she went about many places in her youth, and she really didn't know who his father was. As a boy eager for knowledge, Satyakama goes to the sage, Haridrumata Gautama, requesting the sage's permission to live in his school for brahmacharya and learn the truth. The teacher asks, "My dear child, what family do you come from?" Satyakama replies in all innocence that he's of uncertain parentage because his mother doesn't know who his father was. Even though the sages were only supposed to accept brahmanas as students, the sage declares that the boy's honesty is the mark of being such a brahmana, a true seeker of the knowledge of Brahman, and he accepts him as a student in his school. And Satyakama goes out and he will become a knower of Brahman, a great sage. He goes out into the forest. He's sent out by his teacher to learn. And there he practices meditation. And because of his great love for truth, from nature itself, he is taught about Brahman. And when he returns to his teacher after many years and asks again to learn about Brahman, the teacher tells him, "Your face shines like a knower of Brahman. You already know the truth." But he does teach him in order to uphold the guru-disciple tradition. The calmed say that what is well-spoken is best. Second, that one should say what is right and not unrighteous. Third, what is pleasing and not displeasing. Fourth, what is true and not false. This is spoken by the Buddha. Sri Ramakrishna had a great reverence for and insistence upon the practice of truthfulness. The verse translated as truth is one, sages call it by various names that we already quoted, is the basis of his teaching about the harmony of religions. He tells Turiyananda, who was studying the Upanishads as a young man, the real truth is that God alone is real and everything else is falsehood. He said, this is all the Upanishads have to teach. The world is a mixture of truth and make-believe. Discard the make-believe and hold on to the truth. This is what is known as Sat Asat Vastu Viveka, or discrimination between the real and the unreal. He once said, God can be realized through truth alone. Here the truth becomes both the means and the goal. During his sadhana, he offered everything at the feet of the Divine Mother. He said, Mother, here's thy knowledge, here's thy ignorance. Take them both and give me pure love for thee. Here is thy holiness, here is thy unholiness. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love for thee. Here is thy good, here is thy evil. Take them both and give me pure love for thee. Here is thy righteousness and thy unrighteousness. Take them both, Mother, and give me love for thee. I mentioned them all, he says, but I could not say, here is thy truth and here is thy falsehood. Take them both. I gave up everything at her feet, but I could not give up the truth. Once when Swami Brahmananda had spoken an untruth in jest, and how often do we do this, Ramakrishna said, it appeared as though a dark cloud is covering your face. He scolded him, saying you should always tell the truth and never tell a lie, even in jest. The Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata states, the righteous hold that forgiveness, truth, and sincerity and compassion are the foremost of all the virtues. Truth is the essence of the Vedas. Repeatedly, the importance of truth is stated in this great epic. The elder brother of the Pandavas, Yudhisthira, was said to be devoted to truth. And as a child, he was learning to read. And one of the first statements in the primer was, always speak the truth. He sat studying this saying for a long time. His teacher became very concerned because everyone else had moved on to the second and the third statement. When questioned about it, he said, I have not understood the full meaning of this statement. It is said that if one can hold on to the truth, everything else will follow, that all other virtues will follow the truth. During the great Mahabharata war, it is said that Yudhisthira's chariot floated above the ground by a few inches because of his great adherence to the truth. When he twisted the truth by implying to Drona that his immortal son Aswatthama had been killed by saying, Aswatthama, the elephant, has been killed, Drona sat down on the ground, gave up his arms, and he was beheaded. Yudhisthira's chariot immediately sank to the earth, and the gods cried out. Swami Vijnanananda says, just follow the maxioms that you have read in the copybooks, mainly, always speak the truth, and so on. Only the realization of Atman, the ultimate truth, is behind all things and will give everlasting peace. In the Gospel according to John, we read the words, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Here the truth refers to God himself, to Christ. In Hamlet we read, "This above all else to thy own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day that thou canst not then be false to any man." A Vedantist might interpret this as meaning, since the truth of the self is that we are all one in the Atman, if we're true to our inner self, we are true to all. On a more mundane level, it can mean also that if we're in the habit of lying to ourselves, we're not able to be truthful in dealing with others. Let us be honest with ourselves first and act on that honesty, making our heart and lips one. Sri Ramakrishna says a householder must have unflagging devotion to truth. Even those engaged in business and office work should hold on to the truth. Vijnanananda once said in answer to the question, "I'm working under a businessman, and it's impossible to work there without telling lies. Will these little falsehoods stand in the way of my realizing God?" Quote, "Deviations from the truth will surely hamper realization of God. God is truth, and to realize him you have to be completely truthful. But if at times, owing to special reasons, you have to utter a falsehood, it need not worry you too much, because while you are a subordinate to another person, you cannot help obeying him. If you become completely truthful, you'll only lose your job. Now go on working as you're doing, but afterward, when you are more free and you can follow your own inclinations, stick to the truth at all times. But know it to be the last word, that to realize God, you have to be wholly truthful in thought, word, and in deed." Swami Premananda says, "We hear many say that it's impossible to be truthful in business, but I don't believe it. Where truth reigns, there the Lord himself abides. If the man of business enshrines the truth in his heart, he will be looked upon as the greatest of all virtuous men, and his business is destined to thrive." Nag Mahashaya, a householder devotee of the Master, was greatly devoted to truth. Once he went to buy something in the market, and the shopkeeper charged him 4 annas, and as he was truthful, he took the shopkeeper at his word and didn't haggle with him. A bystander, seeing him pay the 4 annas, thought to himself, "What sort of man is this? He didn't even bargain." But when he learned that the man was Nag Mahashaya, the saint who believed no one would dupe others, he took the shopkeeper to task. The shopkeeper took this to heart, so the next day when Nag Mahashaya appeared to buy something, he charged him only 2 annas for something that was worth 5 annas. With folded hands, Nag Mahashaya addressed the shopkeeper, "Why do you act like this? This is worth more than 2 annas. Please charge me the right price." Deeply moved, the shopkeeper fell at the saint's feet. Adherence to truth brings with it a great strength. Mahatma Gandhi stressed the power of truth with the word satyagraha. Ramakrishna's own father actually lost his position because he refused to lie during a lawsuit. He was such a great devotee of truth. Telling the truth is one of the glories of longing for God, Sri Ramakrishna tells us. Satya also can refer to this virtue in Hinduism, referring to the quality of being truthful in one thought, word, and action. There's a related concept, sattva, with a V, and that also is derived from the same word, sat, and it means true, essence, nature, spiritual essence, character. Sattva is also one of the 3 gunas, where it means goodness, purity, clean, positive, one that advances good, true nature of the self. This isn't the same word as satya, and the meanings do differ, but it comes from the same root, and you can see the connection. How can we practice truth in our lives? Several of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna say that it means making your heart and your lips one. Swami Premananda tells us, hold on to the truth, make your heart and lips the same, is to become truthful. Hold on to the truth, and you will achieve everything. This is because our inner self is the Atman, and the Atman is truth itself. A Christian might quote the Psalm saying, create in me a clean heart, O God. This means the mind and heart have to be purified, so the light of the Atman, our real true nature, stands revealed. Swami Triyananda goes a step further. He says, there should be no disagreement between what one feels and what one says. And at the same time, one should not be cruel or unkind when one adheres to the truth. Make your heart and your tongue one, but truthfulness and kindness must go together. Say what is kind, but what is not untrue. Say what is true, but what is not unkind. Truth alone triumphs, not falsehood. The path by which the sages have reached perfection is the path of truth. There's no other way to freedom, no other way. He goes on by saying, to keep something secret, saying, I won't tell it, also is a kind of untruth. To be absolutely frank and open in one's dealings is real truthfulness. Thus, straightforwardness is considered to be a great virtue in Hinduism. To be simple, sahaja, like a child, is to be truthful. Jesus also says, suffer the little children to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. This idea of keeping a secret as being untruthful in some sense was sort of a new idea to me. I'd never really considered that in just that way. Yet even in our legal system, we have the words, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. To hide something back is not really being truthful. However, it's subtle, because sometimes revealing something you know may actually harm another person unnecessarily. For example, if a sadhu is sitting in a forest and a robber comes by and hides behind a tree, and pretty soon the police arrive hot on his tail. Now, if the sadhu says he knows where he's hiding, the man will be harmed. What should he do? Perhaps pretending to practice silence might be the best solution in that case. Remember the story of Premananda. When he heard a missionary belittling the Hindu gods and goddesses, he became very angry and abused the missionaries and chased them away. Then in a dream he saw Ramakrishna, and he was told, you should never hurt another man's faith. The next day, Premananda found the same missionary and apologized to him. The idea of not being unkind or calling or saying a harsh truth is also there. Swami Brahmananda says, no one can find peace if he hurts others. Never utter a word that would hurt another. Tell the truth, but never a harsh truth. There's a story told by Holy Mother about her giving milk to Thakur toward the end of his life. He was very thin and he was wasting away, so she was trying to feed him as much as she could. This is a quote, the man who milked the temple cows used to give me the milk in large quantities, and he would say to me, if I give this milk to the temple priests, they'll take it home after worship and give it to anyone and everyone. But if I leave the milk here, the master will have it. He used to give me up to 5 or 6 seers of milk a day. He was a good man, full of devotion. I used to boil that milk down to a seer and a half, and the master would ask me, how much milk is there? And I would say, a seer or a seer and a quarter. He would remark, perhaps more, I see such a thick scum on the milk. One day Golap was there and he asked me, how much milk is there? And she told him the truth. Ah, so much milk, he exclaimed. That's why I get indigestion. Call her, call her. I came in. And he told me what Golap had said about the milk. And I pacified him, saying, oh, Golap doesn't know the measurement. How can she know how much the pot holds? Another day he asked Golap about the milk, and she said in reply, one bowl from here and one from the Kali temple. At this, the master got very nervous again. He sent for me and began asking about the exact measurement and how much the bowl contained. I replied, I don't know about these measurements. You will drink milk. Why all these inquiries about measurements? Who knows about these calculations? He wasn't satisfied. He said, can I digest all this milk? I'll get indigestion. And really that day he did get indigestion and didn't take anything but a little at night. Golap said to me afterward, well, Mother, you should have told me about it before. How could I know? His evening meal was spoiled. In reply, I said to her, there's no harm in telling a lie about food. Thus, I cajole him into eating. In this way, his health actually got better. So you see, it's a subtle thing. You may see something in another which may actually be true, but is it necessary to reveal it? Often we have to think before we speak. We can ask ourselves, is what I'm going to say truthful? Is it necessary? Will it be beneficial? There is also the point that for some there is a confidentiality. A doctor or a minister, for example, may be told something in private that should not be revealed to others. Even a criminal has the right to remain silent when questioned by the police. Sometimes cultures also differ greatly in this regard. Sometimes in India, I found Indians nodding and saying, yes, yes, you may do that when I asked. And actually they meant, over my dead body, don't ever do that. We would think, why don't they just say that? No, don't do it. It would be so much easier for everyone. This can be especially difficult if you're wearing the Garawa cloth, as they don't want to contradict or say no to a sadhu. That, however, is just not how the culture works. It's much more subtle than that. And perhaps it can be difficult for a Westerner to understand the Indian practice of truth. Again, from a higher standpoint, Turiyananda says, the Lord's name alone is the only truth. Everything else is unreal. In Varanasi, as bodies are carried to the cremation ground for burning, the people chant, Ram Nam Satya Hai. Rama's name is the only reality. These words ring throughout the city, and how sweet they are. Life becomes sweet if we know this truth. The great ones tell us, he who is in his last birth becomes conscious of the truth and knows God and succumbs no more to the egotistic delusions. They know God alone is real and the world is unreal. Practicing truthfulness actually has a certain power as well. It is said by practicing truthfulness for 12 years, the body and the mind become controlled and pure. One is actually unable to say anything that is untrue. In fact, it is said what such a person says will become true. Thus, if a holy person says anything to another person, it has a certain power. Ramakrishna said at one point he wanted to test his own experiences, so he said, if what I experience is true, may this stone jump 3 times. And he tells us that the stone actually jumped 3 times. Now, you can believe this or not, but even Ramakrishna once had to bear the effect of his brother's angry words uttered during an argument. His brother said, "May blood come from your mouth." And immediately he felt terrible and he wanted to take it back, but he'd already spoken. And in the end, this happened to Sri Ramakrishna, even though his brother did not intend it to be so. One should be very careful what one says as it gains power. Swami Vijnanananda tells us truth must be adhered to very strictly. There should be complete harmony between preaching and practice. What comes out of your lips has to be acted upon. We read in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna that often he would say he would do something, and then, even though he no longer needed to do that thing, he would do it anyway just to adhere to the truth. And here again, we're back to the idea that the heart and tongue must become one. A person who is established in truth has a tangible power. Tantin once said about Swami Vivekananda, "The first word I heard him utter was the truth. And the second word I heard him utter was the truth. And everything that I heard him utter after that was the truth." You could say it was perhaps her faith, but it was also because Swamiji was a knower of God and was established in the truth. The face of such a one actually shines with that truth. It can be seen in the countenance of such a one as it was seen in the face of Satyakama after he returned to his teacher after his forest sadhana. His teacher greeted him by saying, "My son, your face shines like a knower of Brahman." Its secret name is Satyasya Satya, the truth of truths. The Isha Upanishad tells us, Hiranyamayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukam tatvam pushana pavarnu satyadharmaya drishyate pushane karshayamasurya prajapatya vyuha rasmin smuha Tejo yate rupam kal yanatamam tate pashami yoso aso purisha sohamasmi. Like a lid, thy shining golden orb covers the entrance to the truth in thee. Remove it, O Son, so that I, who am devoted to the true, may behold that. O Son, the offspring of Prajapati, thou lonely courser of the heaven, thou controller and supporter of all, contract thy rays, withdraw thy light through thy grace, so that I may behold that blessed form of thine. I am indeed he, that being, who dwells there. Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Filled with Brahman are the things we see. Filled with Brahman are the things we see not. From out of Brahman floweth all that is. From Brahman all, yet is he still the same. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace.